Hello and welcome back to this channel. My name is Mandy Magnan. I'm a writer, actress, producer, director in Toronto, as well as a movie reviewer, pop culture, and a YouTube commentator for everything It Ends With Never. In this video, we're only going to go over Blake Lively hiding discovery. Let's get into it. Grab your emotional support lip gloss. You're in frame with Mandy Magnan. Let me just start by saying, how many times has Blake Lively ran to the courts, tried to get intervention by the court, blaming Wayfair, saying Wayfair has not produced said documents, has not given them all of the stuff, has not da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? I mean, all the way up until even Jamie Heath saying he hasn't produced all birthing video. Even all the way up to the point of now we have so many unreleased, unredacted text messages because Blake Lively was crying in the courts that she never got everything and that Wayfair was withholding discovery. Well, my oh my, yesterday when I said I was going to go over the emails from the lawyers, I did. And there's information there, and that's what this video is going to be about. Also, I just want to say last week, I told y'all that if I was a lawyer on the side for Wayfair, my new Roman empire would be to get the metadata on the document of protections to return back to work, because the metadata would then show how long Blake Lively was, creating this document, this 17 point that then turned to a 30 point, right? I would really want the metadata for that document. Well, speak no more, because it's almost like we are on the same team, because that's exactly what these emails show. Blake Lively refusing to provide metadata on this document. Without any further ado, let's go over the email attachment that was unsealed yesterday through Melissa Nathan's opposition to the sanctions motion for redacted. Let's just read this email correspondence, y'all. Now, as always, what I always say to y'all, if you're reading email correspondence that have just been printed and it's like emails back and forth, you always got to start at the bottom, because that's just the way that they're printed. It's always from the bottom up, so it can get a little bit confusing. So we'll just start with the bottom one, and then I'm going to bring you straight to the top, which has all of the responses. But once again, Blake Lively and her counsel, wowzers. This email thread starts with emails about the deposition of Mr. Justin Greystone, who is a talent manager at Management 360, and he represents Blake Lively as well as some other clients, of course. It just starts here with counsel, them asking, Mr. Stone has an obligation at 6 p.m. on Monday. Can we please start at 9 a.m. instead of 10 a.m.? Then you go up here, and then this is from the Wayfair counsel. They say, Julie, as per your request, we will agree to start the deposition at 9 a.m. rather than at 10 a.m. as originally noticed. We will send an amended notice shortly. All counsel, please let us know which counsel will be appearing in person and which counsel or parties would like to participate by Zoom. We will need names and email addresses for the latter. There is then a response from Sarah Moses, who is at Manap, Phelps & Phillips, who is one of many of Blake Lively's lawyers. They write, I will be there in person. Please confirm that the time will be split equally, 3.5 hours each, and defendants will question the witness first. Okay. Then the response back from Brian Freeman's firm, from Kim, says, Sarah, the plaintiff did not serve a deposition notice to Mr. Greystone as reflected in the joint stipulation attached. Plaintiff has already noticed 22 depositions. This would be 23 if you had served a notice, and are only entitled to take 20 depositions. The time to notice any more depositions has passed. This is the first time we are hearing that you want any time at all for this deposition. We can discuss a reasonable amount of time for any cross-examination by plaintiff over the weekend or on Monday before the depositions start. Then Sarah, Blake Lively's lawyer, writes, Miss Lively intends to question Mr. Greystone. Yeah, even though she's only allowed 20 and now she's done 22 depositions, Miss Lively intends to question Mr. Greystone within the scope of his direct examination and reserves time to do so. I'd be happy to discuss this further on Monday. All of that correspondence took place on Saturday, October 4th. Then you go to Tuesday, and the Wayfair people had some questions for Miss Blake Lively. So they write, Sarah, this email follows our discussion of certain deficiencies in Miss Lively's document production, which came to light at Mr. Stone's deposition. Please let me know at your earliest convenience when we can meet and confer on the 6 items listed below. Now, what they did was they just took it and they wrote, please see our answers in red. Responses are below in red. So now we have the questions and the answers from Wayfair. First, the Exhibit 6, Blake Lively 2232224, attaches a document titled, It Ends With Us, Blake Lively Protections Page. As discussed, this attachment was not produced. Please produce the document and include the required metadata. And then they answer saying, we have discussed this issue on multiple conferrals with other attorneys from your firm. Plaintiff produced full families for all documents, so to the extent there is a missing child, it is because the underlying document was not saved to plaintiff's iCloud account and was therefore not available for collection. What? She's literally refusing to provide the metadata for one of the most important documents in this case, which is what her whole case rides on, the protections page. Number 2, Wayfair asks, Exhibit 5 is Exhibit A to plaintiff's second amended complaint. As discussed, Ms. Lively did not produce the document. We are aware that the document is included within Wayfair's production, as you pointed out, but Ms. Lively did not produce it. Please do so and include the required metadata. They write, this document was produced at BL and then the file number. 3, Wayfair asked, several of the Stone deposition exhibits you marked are alleged offers or contractual documents but are heavily redacted as non-responsive. If you intend to rely upon these documents as evidence in support of Ms. Lively's damages, they must be produced in their entirety. It is improper for Ms. Lively to selectively determine what is relevant within the contracts. There may, for example, be relevant limitations on compensation or performance. The documents have already been marked attorney eyes only. Please reproduce in an unredacted form Exhibits 17, 18, 19, 23, and 24. Lively's lawyers say, many of these contracts contain confidentiality provisions that require approval from the contracting parties to disclose their contents. We will confer with the contracting parties to determine their willingness to produce the agreements without redactions. They didn't provide you the contracts without redactions. You redacted them. And for you to be in the courts trying to get sanctions on Melissa Nathan for providing you with documents that you were already provided for by many other people, stating that there's so many redactions, and then you're trying to provide contracts with redactions so they don't even know what the monetary value is? Crazy. More. Wayfair says the 30-point list that appears to be cut and pasted into paragraph 20 of Ms. Lively's complaint was not produced. Please do so and include the required metadata. They write the document was produced. More. Blake Lively 2233137 is a text exchange between Mr. Zavala and Miss Lively. The entry on November 15th, 2023 at 7:04 p.m. purports to attach a document titled It Ends With Us, Blake Lively Protections Pages, slightly different from the title of the document referenced in Exhibit 6. Then they write the same explanation provided in response number 1, which is there is no metadata for it. You know, she didn't save it to the iCloud, therefore there is no metadata. Are we being serious? Okay. Continues, to the extent that there are multiple versions and or red lines of the alleged protections or requirements document, which were apparently stored on Miss Lively's computer or other electronic devices, they must be produced. We note that no such documents appear on Miss Lively's privilege log. They write, plaintiff has produced all non-privileged versions of the protections for return to production. Certain versions have been withheld. So you produced them, but now you're withholding other versions. So you're already double backing on what you said. Like, it doesn't make sense. Some versions have been withheld on privilege grounds and are reflected in plaintiff's privilege log, captured by certain entries with descriptions regarding on-set conduct. Then they write, I look forward to your prompt attention to this email, which their answers are in red. The Wayfair people, not happy about that. Obviously, not happy about that. So then they write back and they say, see my responses below in yellow highlighting. So for the metadata, they write, I understand this issue was discussed generally. I am raising it again, but this time only for 2 specific documents. Ms. Lively contends that the productions document is highly relevant to this litigation. Therefore, all versions of this document must be produced. Exhibit 6 to Mr. Stone's deposition is one such document. Your statement that the document is missing because the underlying document was not saved to plaintiff's iCloud account should not end the inquiry. By default, Apple's Pages word processing program automatically saves documents as your own on them. Therefore, the document was either saved locally or on iCloud at some point in time. Your statement that the document was not stored on iCloud is not specific enough. Was it ever saved to plaintiff's iCloud account? If it was saved to plaintiff's iCloud account, then advise when it was deleted. In addition, advise if the document was ever saved locally on one of plaintiff's devices. Example, phone, iPad, computer, laptop. Did you look on the devices for these documents? If it was not available, when did plaintiff delete it? Plaintiff has claimed work product protections as early as May 19th, 2023, as on her privilege log, reflecting that as of that date, she anticipated litigation. Therefore, please explain why all documents were not retained and preserved that they were dated or created on May 19th, 2023 or thereafter. Right. Blake Lively herself has come into the courts and filed saying that Wayfair should have kept all of their documents since she filed this 17 list points of demands with them back in November, because they should have anticipated litigation at that point. But yet the person who made the 17-point list of demands didn't save it and didn't anticipate litigation, but the defendants should have? Come on, guys, get it together. You know? Then when it comes to the unredacted portions of all of these contracts that I guess she lost, and that's what she's basing her monetary loss on, but they're also heavily redacted that they don't even know what it says, they write back and say, please let us know when we can expect a response or if court intervention is required. Then on the complaint that Lively has not produced, they write back, we have several issues with your response. First, the metadata for the first 2 pages you listed above reflects the creation date of July 23rd, 2025. The 30-point list in the SAC first appears in the CRD complaint on December 20th, 2024, and the complaint alleges that the list existed as of January 4th, 2024, the infamous meeting, right? Obviously, the July 23rd, 2025 created document cannot be what Miss Lively alleged read on January 4th, 2025, as it was not created until July 23rd, 2025. Make that make sense. Second, the 2 documents produced as Blake Lively 38461-462 appear to be screenshots of yet another document that was not produced. Note the envelope legend on the bottom of page 38461. Where is the original document with the metadata as required by the ESI protocol? Was it destroyed or deleted? And if so, when did that occur? Third, the title of this document is cut off. It reads Blake Lively updated LS list of pages. It also has a timestamp in the upper left-hand corner, but it does not have a date. Where is the missing information regarding this document? Finally, if this document was destroyed, please advise when it was destroyed and explain why it was not preserved, given Miss Lively's claim that she anticipated litigation as early as May 19th, 2023. Then they just write, the same issue exists with respect to this document. And then when it comes down to having multiple versions of the same document but not producing the original one, they write, your comment raises issues regarding the adequacy of plaintiff's privilege log. The description of many of the items listed on the log read, email providing or reflecting legal advice of Sloan Offer Weber and Dern LLP concerning onset conduct. You now claim some of those include versions of the protections or requirements document. We note that Blake Lively 3846162 is Blake Lively's updated Lindsay Strasberg list of protections. Is Miss Strasberg's list, which Lively revised on the privilege log? Which entry is it? This reveals that your privilege log is insufficient, as it does not allow us to evaluate your claim of privilege. For example, the documents with the titles reflected in numbers 1 and 4 above are not privileged, and if a document bearing that title was withheld on the ground of privilege, we are entitled to challenge it. Accordingly, Ms. Lively must 1. Identify each of the entries on the log that contain, summarize, or attach any version of the protections or requirements document and identify it as such. 2. Provide the author of each such document or revision. 3. If an attachment, provide the name of the document. Example, it ends with us BL protection pages, so that we may properly evaluate your claims of privilege. And 4, provide descriptions other than simply concerning on-set or post-production conduct. These issues have caused us to examine your privilege log more closely. Who is Season Kent, Cami Asper, Phil Singer? In addition, you have claimed a common interest privilege log with Colleen Hoover. Ms. Hoover recently testified that she never contemplated filing an action against the Wayfair parties. Accordingly, this document must be produced. Y'all, you can't even make this up right now, okay? You can't even make it up. And Blake Lively's response, her lawyers, this is what I said, they were being like real sassy yesterday when I just overviewed this. Their response is nuts. They write, as you are aware, the court's initial case management plan and scheduling order dated February 3rd established August 14th deadline for the close of fact discovery and a July 1st deadline for parties to substantially complete document production. Given the Wayfair defendants' deficient productions made as the court ordered substantial completion deadline, the parties sought and the court ordered several deadlines for the production of documents and motions to compel, along with a stipulated extension of fact discovery to September 30th. So they're basically saying, no, it's October. Too bad. Too bad. So sad. Okay? You're not getting it. But you never produced it. Then they go on to say, pursuant to the initial case management plan, Ms. Lively substantially completed her document production by July 1st. Ms. Lively produced the 4 documents specifically identified in your below outreach. By July 25th and July 29th, the relevant information was reflected in Ms. Lively's privilege log. The Wayfair defendants never moved to compel. Instead, 2 months after the operative deadline to move and a week after the extended fact discovery deadline, you began to take issue for the first time with certain documents produced by Ms. Lively and reflected on her privilege log. Your efforts are untimely. It is well settled that the operative time to raise and move discovery issues before the close of fact discovery. The Wayfair defendants surely could have raised and moved on any alleged discovery deficiencies prior to the close of discovery and certainly by the multiple deadlines to which they agreed. Nor can you appropriately couch these issues as arising from Mr. Greystone's deposition. As noted, these documents and Miss Lively's privilege log were produced months beforehand, and counsel's lack of diligence in pursuing these perceived issues in advance cannot justify reopening discovery into Miss Lively's sufficient and comprehensive production. Miss Lively will not engage any further regarding the Wayfair defendants' belated attempts to raise new issues as to claimed discovery deficiencies. And then that's it. What? So they never answered. They never answered why Blake Lively doesn't have the original return to productions, why she can't provide any metadata, why she's withholding communications with Colleen Hoover as redacted and confidential. This is crazy. And then going to the court and saying, how many times now has she ran to the court saying, the privilege log from the Wayfair people, the privilege log, I need these 38 documents, these documents, da-da-da. You're playing a very, very, very dangerous game. But what to me is actually kind of refreshing is that Wayfair, everything that they said in their complaints, everything that they gave us so far is all becoming the truth. It hasn't wavered. Whereas Blake Lively has changed her story so many times, and now we're actually seeing real evidence, real-time text messages and emails that just prove Wayfarer's innocence. It's so crazy. The fact that she can be running to the courts when she knows that her side is playing the exact same games that the Wayfarer side is playing. That's the email, and that's the entire video. Okay, there is more to come because today is Judgment Day. In the next video, I'll be going over the boss move from Jennifer Abel. I love you so much. Drop your comments. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.